Namaste. It's very important that we start to understand the depth of what asana means. Asana is often related to uh, postures or yoga positions, but in fact these actually came in to the yoga system much later as exercise regimes as part of the militant Hatha Yoga system of Gurukshanath. Originally, the term asana relates to other terms such as asati, meaning to sit or a seat. It doesn't refer to an actual posture. And of course, Patanjali Maharishi in his Yoga Sutras states the definition of asana is Sukham asanam, which means that the asana, the seat, should be still and sukham or comfortable, good. It shouldn't be uncomfortable like most asanas today are by yoga teachers using their yoga straps and other techniques. And sometimes we see some rather weird and wonderful devices that they've come up with, which are more really chiropractic in nature than being anything to do with yoga traditionally itself. In the Rig Veda, there is a verse to the deity Indra, which reads as Stiram Ratam Sukham. Stiram again relates to stillness. Ratam is a metaphor for the body. Ratha is a chariot in Vedic mythology, but it also relates to the body, the sharira, especially the physical, the subtle, and the causal body. So quite often that does relate to the causal and astral bodies in the Rig Veda. But here relating to Indra, it basically matches exactly what Patanjali has stated. Again, the Ratha being the body, so the body should be still, relating to the asana. Indra itself, the term, means Indriyapati, meaning Lord of the Indriyas or the senses. And the goal or the aim of yoga, of course, is to still the senses. And that is why the first step is we must cultivate being able to sit in an asana, seated position, for a long time. And once we're able to still our body, then we can go on to the next step in yoga, such as pranayama and higher limbs of yoga beyond that. But we can't start doing even any pranayama, any breathing techniques, until we have first mastered the stillness, the sthira of the body. And again, this has to be in a sukham, a comfortable position. And this is because vata dosha, the biological humor of air and movement in the body, is naturally always moving. And with our lifestyles today, we're not living yogic lifestyles in regards to being away from society in the Himalayas or a remote cave or a forest or village somewhere. We're quite often living right in suburbia itself, and therefore there are a lot of noises. There are a lot of foods that sometimes we may be exposed to, pollution. All of these things also aggravate our mind with rajas and tamas, the agitation and passion in our mind and the darkness and inertia in our mind, and therefore it creates a barrier to be able to go deeply into yoga sadhana as the ancient rishis or yogis were able to do. So while we can try and imitate them, a lot of yoga studios have basically just given up, and this is what has happened in the West. People have given up on the traditional side of yoga, and they've said that they are practicing Ashtanga yoga, or the yoga of the 8 limbs, which dates back to Patanjali, also known as the Raja Yoga system or the complete yoga system. But it has to start first again with developing the good qualities within us, which first of all, even before we get to the stage of the asanas, come into the yamas and niyamas of yoga. And without starting to cultivate these, such as ideas of satya, ahimsa, asteya, brahmacharya, etc., and then reading the ancient shastras, having some sort of devotion or ishwa pranidhana, then we cannot go far because we have to again still our senses and purify the body before we actually go in for asana. We can't just walk into a classroom or into a studio and start doing all of these yoga postures and then falsely believing that at the end of it it will take us to some sort of nirvana or enlightenment. This is a wonderful idea, but it's not real as per the yoga system anyway. It may be real in regards to some aspects of the Western view of things or New Age views. And this is why people are superficially following these guidelines of the eight limbs originally. They often don't have any uh, bhakti or devotion, which again has to be cultivated beforehand. And again, even before we start chanting mantras or anything like that, or trying to develop dharana shakti, the power of concentration in the mind, we have to first, go through the asana stage, keeping the body still. So sometimes yogis spent decades to still their mind and their body before going into higher limbs, because there's no use trying to meditate on something if the mind is going to waver and wander all over the place. It has to be still. And this is why asana and pranayama are the outer limbs of yoga. And pranayama is also very useful for transforming the mind. It helps to clear the vasanas or the mental impressions out of the mind, and also helps to transform the body as well. And again, some people might see visions or believe that they have heightened states of consciousness during these practices. However, this is often due to vasanas or past sanskaras, the uh, past traits and tendencies and memory impressions that we have in our mind, or the um, unconscious state of the mind, the chitta, which come up and can project themselves. It's very much like how in a dream, the dream substance is often caused by aggravation of the doshas within us, the biological humors, or having some sort of toxin in the body, reaction to medications, taking drugs, or just due to general rajas and tamas in the mind due to the impressions that we take on a day-to-day basis. So also some of the visions that we have physically are just like the dream. They can manifest due to past experiences and due to the Vikshipa Shakti, the power of projection. They can manifest themselves. So again, it is important that we do start with asanas in the traditional aspect, not go trying to twist the body around unnecessarily, which a lot of asanas are very, very useful for health and are used in Ayurveda, but they are applied completely differently in Ayurveda as opposed to how they are applied in modern yoga classes or by modern yoga teachers. So let us contemplate the true meaning of asana and its importance when dealing even with mantras, because again, we have to still the body in order to chant a mantra externally or internally. We have to purify the mind, gone through the stage of pranayama before we do that as well. Otherwise, our body is going to move about, we're going to fidget, and we're not going to have proper dharana shakti or concentration. And this is also why such practices such as trataka, yogic gazing, etc., are very, very important, along with bhakti, to help purify the emotional and physical aspects of the mind as well, so that we can proceed in our yoga sadhana in a more organic manner. Om Namah Shivaya.